Hi, my name's Matt and I'd like to welcome you to this Zinniac video, which is part of our ITIL Strategist Direct Plan and Improve course. And in this video, we'll be looking at the second part of the Continual Improvement Model. So that's steps 4 to 7, starting with step 4, how do we get there? And the first thing to say is you can see the star there on the slide is this step and the next step, take action, are not in the syllabus. So if you want to ignore them, you can. The reason I've included them is partly for completion because they're two steps of the continual improvement process, so why would we ignore them? And also, I don't know if they've left them out by mistake because it's direct, plan and improve. So how can you leave out the planning step in direct, plan, improve? So I don't know if they just feel this is covered elsewhere, and the take action is where we actually improve. So I'm surprised they've left them out, but anyway, I've included them. They're not in the syllabus. You shouldn't get questions on them. But there we go, that's where we are. So I'll go through them fairly quickly as they're not in the syllabus. So how do we get there? This is where we create the action plan. So we create an action plan for how we get to the improvement we're trying to make in this step. So remembering the where do we want to be, it's where do we want to be at the end of this iteration. So it's not, we've already got the visions, the medium term, the end of the initiative. This is just this iteration. So how are we going to get there? And again, think about the planning horizon. So we may have a high level plan of kind of roughly how we're going to get to the vision, but this is a more detailed plan for this iteration or this sprint if we're using Scrum. An effective action plan should answer several questions, including, do any of the changes need to be completed in a specific order? Are there any quick wins that will give rapid customer value? Are there any resource constraints that will dictate the flow? If new information that might impact stakeholders' expectations or support is revealed, change agents may need to go back to step 3 and re-engage with stakeholders. So don't feel you've got to go through the continual improvement model in a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, that you can't go back once you've completed one step. And indeed, if I compare this with Scrum, the how do we get there step is really sprint planning, and in sprint planning is very much a negotiation between the development team and the product owner. So the product owner is representing the stakeholders. They have authority to prioritize the backlog. The development team are the people who have the authority to decide actually what's going to be done in this step, in this sprint, and it's a negotiation between the two. So it's very much between steps 2, 3 and 4. So we kind of alternating between them. It's an iterative process, a collaboration between the product owner and the delivery team in Scrum. Step 5, again, not on the syllabus. It may be necessary. So step 5 is take action, and this is the new step that wasn't in version 3, obviously. It may be necessary to revise the plan again as we're going, and so it's not fixed. We don't fix the plan and then say we can't move it, want to remain agile. Regularly validate the assumptions upon which the plan was based. I talked about assumptions being risk, and we want to bring, because there's uncertainty around, we want to bring certainty as soon as we can. And very often at the beginning of a sprint or at the beginning of an iteration, they're the same thing, they're just different words, yeah. I'm just using them both in case you use one or either in your organization. Very often that's what we try and do. So early on in a sprint, we would try and validate an assumption, and in Agile we often refer to a spike. So a spike is a short technical experiment to validate an assumption. It would be a simple way of putting it. So we might want to do that. Actively manage the identified risks and stakeholders. So again, anywhere risks or uncertainty, so try and bring that certainty as soon as possible. There are, there's different types of risk. There's the risk that we won't deliver everything we're trying to deliver in this sprint. And there is the balance of kind of how long the sprint is or how long the iteration is, the time box is. So the longer it is, the more likely things are, the requirements are to change during it. The shorter it is, the harder the more difficult it is to deliver anything of value. So we have to balance those things out. And I talked about before about how much we break requirements down. So do we break sagas down into epics, down into user stories, down into even lower level requirements? So again, the smaller the bits, whatever we call them, the more likely it is that we're going to be able to, the more likely our estimate is going to be accurate. So if we've got a piece of work that we estimate to be one user point, if we're using story point, one story point, if we're using story points, the more likely that is to be accurate than if it's 40 story points. Or if we're estimating on man days, if it's 1 man day and we're 100% out, it takes us 2 man days. If we've estimated 50 man days and we're 100% out, it takes us 100 man days. The scale, so breaking things down reduces that risk. So that's something else to think about with risk. And if a safe to fail experiment approach was chosen in step 4, the previous step, how do we get there? Experiments are conducted to provide feedback for further planning. So what this really relates to is minimum viable product. So in a iteration, in a time box, in a sprint, we might not be delivering something to the end user, or we might not be delivering a working product, but just something, a minimum viable product that's useful to get feedback. So that could be a safe to fail experiment. And a safe to fail experiment is just, there's lots of terms for it. They often talk about sandboxing, but it's just, we're going to try something, and if it fails, it's not going to be catastrophic. We just learn from it. It's just a means to safely learn lessons to progress. Okay, so step 6, so this is in the syllabus. Confirm whether the desired future state has been reached. And it's important to go beyond anecdotal evidence, so we want hard data analysis if at all possible. And as it says on the slide, too often we assume that outcomes have been achieved. So, and I've seen this all too often, and particularly in IT, where we've got, to give you a very simple example, we want to improve customer service. So we decide we're going to implement a new CRM system to help us improve customer service. And we implement the new CRM system. And the new CRM system is delivered on time to budget. It has all the functionality we said it would have. It works. Everyone's, yay, great. But have we improved customer service? And all too often what happens is people kind of go, well, if it hasn't improved customer service, we've just wasted £1 million and 12 months, or whatever the budget was, whatever the time frame was for implementing the CRM system, £500,000, 6 months, whatever it was. But we've wasted the organisation's resources, and nobody wants to waste the organisation's resources. So everybody kind of goes, yeah, I think we've improved customer service, but they don't really have any hard evidence to show that we have. And we want to try and avoid that. And this goes back to the continual improvement culture, having a safe environment of people feeling safe to fail. Because as I said, if we make an attempted improvement, so we make a change, which is an attempted improvement, and we just assume that it's improved and we tell everyone it's worked, other people will look at it and go, oh, that worked really well, let's do something similar. Whereas in actual fact, if it didn't work really well, if the truth is it didn't improve things, or it improved things but only a little bit, but there were some negatives as well. And I go back to the mobile phone example where they've definitely made a change, so you can definitely upgrade online, and they may be getting some benefits. Indeed, they maybe have saved some money of those people who just take the best offer, their first offer they're given, that they've reduced the cost for renewing those contracts, and that's a benefit. But potentially, what's the cost to them of losing people they could have kept if they'd tried? I don't know. I don't know if they've got that data, but that's, we need to look at it in the round and really understand if we've got the benefits. An accurate understanding of what has and has not been achieved is crucial for future planning. So that's what I've just said. So we're now going to look at conducting an improvement review. And this is sometimes called a benefits realization review, so do be aware of that for the exam. They may use either term. Progress and value delivered needs to be checked and confirmed. And this, again, if I relate it to Scrum, at the end of a sprint, they have a sprint review and a sprint retrospective. And this is the sprint review. So what we're doing is we're looking at what we've delivered, not how we've delivered it. That comes next. That's the next step. So an improvement review, an evaluation using metrics and other evidence to determine whether an improvement has been achieved to its desired outcomes, and if not, what needs to be done to complete the work. And again, very often what happens is you make a change to try to deliver an improvement, and you do deliver the change successfully, but you don't get the improvement immediately. And what you have to assess at that point is, are we ever going to get the improvement? So not all improvements will be immediate. In fact, and I talked about, implementing a CRM system to improve customer service. Almost certainly on the day the new CRM system goes live, you won't deliver better customer service. In fact, you may well deliver worse customer service because your customer service staff will be getting used to the new system. So it'll dip a bit and then it'll come back to where it was before, and then hopefully it will get better. But it's over a period of time. So we have to understand when we measure, and at this point where we're doing the measurement, where are we, and will it likely improve in the future? Do we need to do anything additional to get that additional improvement we're expecting? So we check agreed success factors and KPIs, confirm delivery of value. Progress and value can only be confirmed by using metrics to validate success. So again, we don't just want to ask, do you think we did a good job? Yeah, we did a good job. We don't want that one. Hard evidence. But additional subjective evidence, such as stakeholder reports or surveys, may be considered. And it is a safety net. So if you're really struggling with hard evidence, with data analysis, you can ask people. But if you're going to do that, ask them at the beginning. So when you're doing the where are we now, ask them then, and then ask them again. So you're comparing like with like. If expected benefits are not delivered, change the plan before the next iteration. An improvement review's formality and structure should align to the project. So again, just because it says improvement review doesn't need to make it overly formal. And lessons may be uncovered during the improvement review, but lessons learned is particularly focused in the next step, which is how do we keep the momentum going? So step 7, how do we keep the momentum going? And continual improvement must be continual. Obviously, that's why they call it continual improvement, and that's why, as I said, how do we keep the momentum going loops back round. This, in terms of ITIL, very much aligns with, in terms of Scrum, aligns with the sprint retrospective, where we focus on how we've delivered the last iteration. So in terms of the continual improvement model, we've gone through steps 1 to 6. Step 7 is really looking at how we delivered steps 1 to 6. Did we interact well as a team? Did we collaborate? Did we communicate with stakeholders? Did we use the right processes and procedures? Did we prioritize well? We focused on that. The last step looked at what we actually delivered. Create a culture where improvement is part of normal work. We've talked about that before. Everyone's looking for improvement at all levels. Reduce risk of overwhelming transformation efforts being necessary. if we're doing lots of small incremental improvements, we won't need the big changes so much. Shift to marketing the successes and reinforcing new methods. So again, we talked about celebrating success, and that's certainly part of marketing success. Build support and momentum for future improvements. And I would say as part of that, maybe, don't look at one initiative, look at a range of initiatives and say, last year or over the last period that we're looking at, we ran 10 initiatives and 8 of them were successful and 2 weren't. But that's good. That's what we're expecting, or 7-3 or 9-1 or whatever your ratio was. But kind of communicate to people that not every initiative is going to be successful or fully successful or delivery. There will be failures, and that's okay. That's good. That means we're pushing the envelope. I read something from a sports person who kind of said, if you always achieve something easily, then you're not actually stretching yourself, you're not challenging yourself at all. We do want to challenge the organisation. Identifying and evaluating lessons learned. By analysing the success or failure of change initiatives, it is possible to see what can be improved and what was successful, and the findings can be applied to future improvement activities. Lessons can be learned at any point during the improvement. So at any step, if there's a lesson that we really need to learn. The key thing for me for lessons learned is little and often. So if you come up with a big long list of lessons to learn and document it somewhere and say, we need to learn all these lessons, what tends to happen is it's documented, and then people get onto the next iteration or the next project or whatever it is and go, we really ought to learn lessons. We haven't got to, there's too many. It's too overwhelming, I can't cope with it. Whereas if it's just one lesson, people can cope with it. And the way I think of it is the way Microsoft now deliver their updates. So they used to kind of every few years, they deliver a big, massive update to Microsoft Office. So you get a new version of Word and Excel and PowerPoint and so on. And they'd have hundreds of new features in them. And people would just go, wow, can't cope with that. I'll just carry on using them the way I always have done. And that's kind of how lessons learned work. If you've got loads and loads, people just go, I can't cope. Whereas what Microsoft do now is kind of every couple of weeks, they release a small update with 1, maybe 2 features per product. And you can cope with that. You can, okay. Yeah, that's useful. I'll never use that. But you can cope with it. It's much, so little and often is the key thing with lessons learned. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this video and the end of this section on continual improvement. I hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful. Please join me in the next video. Until you see me again, have a great day.